I'm going to make movies when I want, records when I feel like it, and I'm going to do it my way. It's my life. I'm making the decisions now, and I'm going to make them the way I want to make them.
Apple Music Essentials, Bon Jovi, a journey through the artist's most important songs.
This ain't a song for
One amazing place to start, and I'm glad that you agree, is right at the start. Self-titled album, and you've just released your first project, and you're a superstar in New Jersey and soon to become a superstar in America. Runaway was such a moment. I mean, talk about laying it out right from the beginning. It's that classic ambitious New Jersey blood. What's your prevailing memory of recording Runaway?
Runaway, I had an instinct. I felt good about it. I do remember, doing it with the guys and being fortunate enough to assemble that crew. Guys that I knew that made records. That was the band, because I didn't have a band. Having an original band stay together in 1982, there was no way to pay them, and there wasn't enough places to play. So you played when you could with the guys that you could get. But then I had this opportunity over the weekend to make that song. But that one prevailed. That there you go. I'd written the first of many hits.
Characters play a real role in not just your music, but in the music made from a working class environment. The desire to tell stories based around people, the everyday people that you see. Do you remember their faces? Are these real people? Are these real stories that you witnessed?
Some of them are an amalgam, because in a situation where you collaborated on a song, Living on a Prayer would be a great example. Tommy and Gina were names that were fictionalized. But the three of us created that song out of nowhere on that day in the room, and each of us brought something unique, and somehow, we picked those two names. I knew the couple I was referencing. I knew why I was thinking about that, and my great addition to the idea was we need a story, and the story should tell, this classic tale of these two.
It's rare you remember the first time you heard a song. I remember the first time that I heard Living on a Prayer. Wow. I was in Auckland, obviously living with my mum. She was, pretty freshly divorced from my dad, single mum. So I'm immersed in music and culture at this point. I'm just living my life through the TV. And there you are with the band, man. Just moving around that stage with that mic stand, just like it's an extension of your arms. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is the biggest band on the planet.
Yeah. Everything changed with our third album. Everybody involved in that album, and in every and any aspect of that album, everybody's lives changed. Whether it was the producer, the engineer, the band, it was life changing.
Living on a Prayer is one of those songs that, unless you go on to take advantage of the opportunity it provides you, it could be an anchor around your ankles. You didn't seem to miss a beat. As soon as that success was at your front doorstep, you ran 100 miles an hour into it and embraced every single part of it.
All I wanted to do was prove that we could do it again. Within a year, we wrote New Jersey and we're back on the road. And then that album yielded another 5 top 10 singles. And so we did prove it again, but we were burned out. We were dead men walking by the end of that tour.
I want to get straight into a song like Bad Medicine, which to me is just a blues song that you turned into a modern 80s stadium-filling radio smash.
I can still picture it because on this album we were in Tico's garage, which is hysterical because we were still being a garage band in our 4th album. It had great high energy, and it is what it is. It's a big old Bon Jovi chorus.
Why at the back end of the chorus did you hold that chord as a sort of back end chorus reprise almost? Weirdest arrangement decision ever, but ultimately kind of is at the core of the success of that song, I think. Otherwise, it could have been considered a little too standard.
What I believe that we thought was the way you would build a song like that live is you'd hold on a certain chord and then come back in. You certainly wouldn't think like that today when everybody's talking about a 3-minute edit for a song. All they want is, the chorus and get it over with. But we were thinking about how are we going to play it live.
You don't even have to be a fan of Bon Jovi, but what you have to 100% acknowledge, aside from the fact that as a live band, they're near second to none in their peer group, that they sure know how to open a song. You've always come in with the big opener. Where were you when you wrote Always? How did that song come to live its life? It's the only non-married song you've ever had a hit with. It doesn't have a partner. It's a single song on the greatest hits.
I wrote Always for a film. I was given a script called Romeo is Bleeding. And so I wrote that song. And the song was on a DAT on a shelf in my basement studio. And an A&R guy by the name of John Kolodner came as we were writing songs for the These Days record. And he says, have you got anything else? And I was going through all these DATs of songs, and he heard Always, and he said, that song's a smash, you know. And I said, well, really? Okay, if you think so. We recorded that in my first studio in New Jersey. And yeah, Lord knows, Always was a monster hit for us.
Where does it hold its place in your set list these days?
When we do play that song, which isn't often.
Did you say when you do play it, which isn't often?
Yeah, not every night. No. Because if you think about I'll Be There For You was a #1 song, Bed of Roses was a monster
John, it's
ballad
always.
hit.
John, it's always.
We could do
It has this.
like
It
half
has
a
this.
dozen.
This bit here. This bit. That bit where you go double time at the... Oh my God. I'm going to ask you, where were you when you had the inspiration to do this bit right here? Here it is. Woo!
Thank you very much. I'm proud of the song. Yeah, I'm happy to have written it.
Well, obviously not,
it's a
because you won't
monster.
play it every night. What's wrong with you? You're out of your mind. We're going to find ourselves right now in a song called It's My Life. And this is just an out-of-control moment where I feel like you really stepped into your 3.0 on this one. This was kind of like, okay, we know Bon Jovi have their place in the Hall of Fame, but they're not done, and by no means done. How important is this song in the overall jigsaw puzzle of Bon Jovi?
It's a big deal. I mean, 20 years ago, it would have been a perfect time for the industry to say goodbye to a band. You know, at that time, you're 16 years into it, and they can say, you've had your time, God bless you, move on. When I said, like Frankie said, I did it my way, yes, it's about Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra having just passed, you know, New Jersey's most famous export. And I had just been making a lot of movies, and in that case, I'd come home from making U-571 with Matthew McConaughey and Harvey Keitel and came back to America. I came back and said, I'm going to make movies when I want, records when I feel like it. And I'm going to do it my way. And I fought hard for that lyric because I remember Richie saying, who's Frankie and why does anyone care? And I said, it's Frank Sinatra. Yeah. and it's me. You know, I said, this is this is who I'm channeling. It was exactly how I was feeling. It's my life. I'm making the decisions now, and I'm going to make them the way I want to make them. The beautiful thing about it is when you write a song from such a pure place, my ego's taken out of it because anybody says, no, that's me. I'm taking control of my life. You know, it was like the second birth of the band.
As the band has progressed throughout your journey, and you went from being this band that was only focused on live, but as you've moved forward, I feel like your perspective has widened so much more. You talk about a tour, like This House Is Not For Sale, and what the song represents to the Essentials and what it means to the Great American Songbook. I feel like you now want to leave a legacy behind that covers the entire spectrum.
You know, and a lot of that had to do with just having been here so long. When you get a record deal at 21 and now we're having a conversation and I'm 58, if I hadn't grown as a man, what kind of man would I be? But I have to tell the stories of where you're at now. And with This House Is Not For Sale, there was a cluster of people who may have said, oh, that's the end. You know, Richie's quit the band. He's walked out. They should hang it up. Well, that wouldn't be fair to Tico or to Dave or to me or to Hugh. Why? You know, it was a sin that the guy walked out on us, but why should I stop doing what I do? And so the house is represented in the song. It says, this house, meaning the band, it will not be compromised and it will go on. And it's beat up and it looks tired, but you know what? It's still standing. And that statement record for us was a big deal. And it was a #1 album, and you know, and we were very proud to go out and work that record.
You know, you said that it took you some time to, over the course of this year, as well it should, and should do for the artistic spirit, to absorb where we stand and where we sit as people this year. And you called the album 2020, so clearly you came to a conclusion. Yeah. It's a powerful title. You adopted it because you wanted it to be a time stamp on where we're at. When did you realize that you'd collected your thoughts enough to be able to call the album 2020 and make it as definitive as that?
It was prematurely called 2020 in March of 2019.
Wow.
What I thought was the album was really just the first batch of songs. And as events of the last year plus have unfolded, I continued the writing process. And that's when 2020 became not a bumper sticker, but a moment in time where I am bearing witness to history, and the band are making a statement record.
American Reckoning is a statement in itself.
So while I make a statement record, I am just bearing witness to history. I'm making sure not to take sides, because if I were to voice my opinions, that would be such an assumption that I think that my opinion is better than someone who disagrees with my opinions. I know what my opinions are, but that wasn't the soapbox that I was going to get up on. I'm very clear in the messaging, but what I'm saying is, as witness to history, I'm starting a conversation. And I put myself out there writing songs like American Reckoning and Lower the Flag. But I find it to be the most fulfilling thing I could have done artistically at this time, was to speak up and speak out.
Your music reflected the optimism and the insatiable thirst for experience that America put on posters all around the world, and it had Bon Jovi on it. It represented what was possible. It was Reagan, it was capitalism, it was stadiums and arenas and money and fame and success. When you think about the ride you've been on up to this point, where you've made your most overt, observant album about what it is to be a human in America now, how do you feel about your journey from the beginning to now?
Blessed. I'm absolutely blessed. Wouldn't have changed anything, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, because it's what got me here. Someone asked me today, what would the 30-year-old like to talk about with the 58-year-old? And the idea is I would have hoped that I could have become the guy I am today when I was 30. I'm a little more beat up as a result, but I've earned this gray hair and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the punches I had to take, because we're still here and delivering on that promise that we were going to work hard. And so for me, I wouldn't change a step.